And join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the Board of Supervisor meeting. This is February 28th, 2023. First on the agenda is, gentlemen, we have any changes to the tentative agenda?
I have none.
Okay. Meeting with department heads and elected officials. We'll start with Rodney Blaisner, maintenance.
Good morning, we still have our south parking lot projects out for bid. That's due on Monday, March 6th, 10:30. So if anybody's interested, they got till Monday morning to get those bids in. Other than that, just got a lot of different things going on, but nothing else new to report.
Lisa Schaefer, County Attorney.
Just business as usual.
That's Kevin's fault.
Pardon?
I say that's Kevin's fault.
There's many.
Oh, I'm not saying we're not busy, it's just business as usual. There's a lot of business, but it's nothing out of the ordinary.
All right. Cheryl McVeigh, money.
Just have an agenda item.
Let's do the treasurer's office. Janelle Nelly Lundquist.
Good morning. We're keeping busy. Tax payments are starting to roll in, so it's that time of year.
Ken Hyman, Steel Region.
Good morning. Yeah, March is when we start doing contracts for the region, and I'm over the contracting, so expected to start, we're starting to set up meetings for that. That's about it for now. We may have a new name for the region with us combining two regions together, so I was asked to hold off, probably be the end of March before we start doing contract meetings, so that we can try and figure out what's the name of the region gonna be to put on the contracts.
When's gonna be the final date, when they're gonna be combined?
I don't, well, by July 1st.
By July 1st.
Yeah, and that's when the contracts start too for next year, so, yeah. We have a little time, but starting to work on that.
Usually that's my phone. It sounds like my ringer, so I double check. Chris Lee, Conservation.
Good morning. Lots of programs and things coming up with spring coming and stuff, so be sure to get on our website, look up those events. We do have a board meeting tomorrow, and with spring approaching, I'd like to schedule a field tour with the board and the board of supervisors, kind of look at some of the projects we've done, certainly at their Big Hollow. So I'll be reaching out to try to nail down some dates after I talk with the board tomorrow.
Who do I have next? Colin Durst, IT.
Just keep busy like always. We're rolling out our new RMS and CAD software today, doing go live for that. So that's kind of keeping us a little extra busy. Working with some stuff with the state. That's about it.
Christopher Miller, Health Department.
Good morning. The Iowa Department of Health and Human Services released a press release this week talking about the expiring of the public health emergency for COVID-19, which is May 11th. And with that, when that expires, there's some other things that are coming along with that as well. Effective on April 1st, the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services will no longer be requiring that positive COVID tests are reported. So they definitely want the public to know that they will go ahead and continue to monitor the virus, but it is no longer required reportable. We are kind of exploring options locally of even looking at wastewater surveillance efforts. They will be taking down the COVID-19 reporting dashboard, and that will be replaced by the respiratory virus surveillance report, which is where we're able to log on and the public's able to log on and see what RSV rates are and the flu rates are for the county. Another piece that it will be expiring with that is Medicaid which is our MCOs and anyone who's on Medicaid. There was a continuous coverage put in place when the public health emergency was issued, and that will be expiring as well. And so that means for people who are currently on Medicaid, they may have to do a redetermination, so they should be watching their mail for information if they have to re-verify, because with continuous coverage, everyone continued on the coverage, and now in order to maintain that coverage, they may need to recertify that, so.
All right, just full of good news this morning. I agree. Sheriff Kevin Glendon.
Good morning. We are going live with Motorola today. That's the RMS and CAD that Colin mentioned. Probably an understatement when Colin says that he's been a little bit busy with it. It's a software we've been training for a year and putting this thing together. And we're the end users, the law enforcement and dispatcher side, but the install, the data conversion, all that is just asked a lot of Colin and his staff. A lot of extra hours and weekends, and we just are very appreciative of his responsiveness and abilities to make all this happen. So a big thanks to him. So far, so good. Everybody's waiting for something to go wrong this morning, and we're good. It's all good. So,
We're good.
Yeah, it's all good. Everything's fine. But in the end, it's a software change. We still have our old software, and we're just going to make that transition, and it's going to be a positive one. There's going to be some speed bumps, but we'll get through it. We had a robbery in the county last week, and I just can't say enough about the deputies that showed up, Lisa in her office, the county attorney's office, the support from other law enforcement, Burlington and West Burlington, just the assistance we received. It's an unfortunate incident that had as good an outcome as we could have. 3 suspects were identified, located, and arrested. So we're really appreciative of all the assistance and the work that everybody put in for that. Met with the courts last week, and they had some additional requests for courthouse security. Part of the sheriff's duties are to provide that bailiff and courthouse security at the request of the courts. And we put out some requests for some additional part-time, and we have some interest in that. So we'll probably look to sit down with the board and speak with you guys about that schedule and how we're gonna move forward with that, and just provide some of that, those security requests. Probably look at doing that in the next couple of weeks and have a work session if that would be okay. The jail is at 94, pretty full jail. 17 are out of county. We're moving, I think it was 3 to Oakdale today, and I believe we had 8 waiting on halfway house spots. Kind of the same thing. But that's about all I've got.
That email I sent you?
I did.
I want to talk to you about that later.
Yeah.
That, the ones that are waiting, when they have to go to the halfway house, the state puts that on the county, and that should not be, we shouldn't get paid for that. That's costing us $400 a day for them 8 people.
Yeah, so that's along the same lines of what Shane's referring to in the email.
Yeah.
And this bill is very likely gonna go through the restructuring of the state government and how this is all gonna work. And our goal is to just, I guess, be a part of the conversation and have our voices heard. So we did meet with, not I, but our representatives from the Iowa State Sheriffs and Deputies Association. Met with the Department of Corrections last week, referenced some of those concerns, referenced the numbers that are waiting in our jails for beds in the halfway house. It's pretty consistent across the state, is like that 10% number. 10% of your population is inflated because they're waiting on beds for the halfway house. And sometimes, like the Ottumwa halfway house, it's months that we're waiting to get them over there. So it's a difficult position, and there's, right now in the code, doesn't allow us to be reimbursed for those beds. So we're paying for them to be out of county while they're not having to foot the bill for people that are ordered into their custody.
But if I'm correct, you've got 3 going to Oakdale today?
3.
That means the state just let 3 people go,
Yes, that is absolutely right.
because they don't increase their prisoner correctional officer ratio. They don't hire enough, so that they can't let somebody know. How long is, if you get sentenced to 5 years, how long are you serving?
On average, about 10%, so about 6 months. Sometimes it's shorter. And unless there's a mandatory minimum, that's pretty much what we're seeing.
It's not much of a deterrent.
And mandatory minimums are an illusion created by the statute because of the way the DOC figures your time, where they're supposed to take it off of the very back end, they'll take it off your mandatory minimum end. So for instance, we have one guy who is now in our jail on a new Class B drug offense. Had he actually served the 3-year minimum that he was so supposed to on the last drug offense that he had, he would still be there and not in our jail.
It's a big eye opener when you arrest somebody on, say, a forcible felony. They have to do, you're supposed to do 7 years of that, and then a couple years later, you see them walking down Division Street. That actually happened to me. You're like, there's a mandatory there, but those mandatories really aren't real. They can be in the community, monitored in the community as part of that minimum as well.
Yeah, or they could put them in the halfway house on work release and they're still technically serving their time, even though they have a mandatory minimum.
That has been I've expressed that to the Attorney General's office, to our committee as much as I can, that we're just losing the ability to provide that deterrent. Not just the deterrent for those offenders that commit that crime, but also the public safety aspect of doing what's right. That when people are dangerous, are out there committing these crimes, that we need to protect the public, and I'm not sure that we're accomplishing that with some of these sentences.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Kevin, I just looked at the last week's thing. We had 8 of them that was ready for Oakdale last week. We still got 8. So that's cost the county $3,200 that the state should be paying.
Absolutely. So that's one of the things that I made the request of, is I think if we're gonna go this route, the restructuring, is we should have it written in the code that the moment that they're done with their time in the county jail, they've been sentenced, then that should start the clock for the reimbursement. And I think that would, one, increase on their ends and make them realize the cost that we're incurring, but also get them moving a little bit faster to get them out of our custody.
5 years ago, housing prisoners out of county at $50 a day. You know, that was a $2,500 line item in the budget that typically you didn't use that much. And about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it blossomed to $400,000.
And then needed a little bit more from there.
Yeah, they, because there wasn't any place to send anybody.
Yeah. And they're ending in our care. They're ending up in our care, and I have concerns that that's only going to increase with some of these changes.
Man, when you can commit crimes and be out of jail, you know, or even go to prison and be back home in less than 6 months,
Yeah.
that's not good.
The worst part is the repeat offenders that know that quite well. They know the time that they're gonna do. They've educated, I've seen them educate law enforcement on it. Seen them sit down and say, let's get this going. I know I'm gonna be out. They don't wanna sit in our jail and await trial. They wanna move forward and they want to get their time done, and then they're out. They'll wait longer in our jail for trial than they will do time sometimes.
The vast majority of our offenders are not our repeat offenders. It's a fairly small percentage, but they commit a significant amount of crime. I would say probably 10% of our repeat offenders. I mean, they're just people where we know we will see their names. No sooner do they get out, we will have arrested them within 6 months.
What happened to habitual offender? What happened to that?
So the habitual offender used to be, it is for a Class C or D felony, which is a 10-year or 5-year sentence. If they have 2 prior felony convictions, we can enhance their sentence. It used to be a 5-year mandatory minimum, and then they made it a 3-year mandatory minimum, and as I've said, they finagle those numbers, so people really don't do the mandatory minimum necessarily behind prison bars. If they place them in the halfway house, they consider that part of that mandatory minimum, even though they're in the community.
Oh,
And so, yeah, most of our people don't even care if they have the habitual offender tacked on. They just don't care. For the people that truly are doing life on the installment plan. And that's what we have. We have a certain percentage of our customer base that is just doing life on the installment plan. No sooner do they get out, they commit a new offense so that they can go back. And I have 3 of them right now who were released into the community, not necessarily released from incarceration, but were placed back into the community before their 3-year minimums were up, and they're already in the Des Moines County Jail awaiting sentences for either new habitual offender enhanced sentences or more significant, like the one guy who's down there on a B felony. Where if they would have kept them for the 3 years, actually kept them within prison bars for 3 years, they would have not been in the position to commit new offenses. And one of them endangered law enforcement, the community. He could have killed people on a high-speed chase throughout Burlington, North Burlington and Des Moines County.
Is that the one that started out in Walmart, or is that different?
He endangered the lives of several law enforcement officers and several other civilians during the course of the chase. And he had only been released, I believe, 5.5 months prior to that.
Stop, Lisa, you're killing me right now. You gotta give me this in increments, you know what I mean? Woo! Wow. Gentlemen, anything else before we move? Okay.
Did you get Brian?
No, I'm coming back to
Oh,
Brian.
okay.
I'm doing Brian last. Sarah Marie, County Auditor.
Good morning. Just business as usual. Nothing new to report at this time.
Okay, Brian Carter, County Roads.
Most exciting, huh? Plenty of stuff going on. Yesterday the theme was after that rain, we had quite a few holes show up in roads, not potholes, holes down to culverts. It's pretty typical, we don't have any frost. So a junk culvert will show itself pretty fast when you get the soft conditions and a rain. So we obviously our list is growing, but keep working on stuff. We have an agenda item today about 70th, and I do want to mention we did bid, the DOT bid, I should say, a farm to market project on our behalf for Highway 99 for the closure we've talked about up at Dry Branch this summer. That bid last Tuesday. We had been, budget-wise, we had a 1.3 million number in our office. We were hoping between 1.3 and 1.4, and it landed right in there. I'll have contract documents and stuff for you eventually, but it came in about 1.375-ish is a round number. We had 4 bidders, had good competition, and the first 2 bidders were within 50 grand of each other, which on an over $1 million project is very good competition. So anyway, so as I know more and have some stuff to put in front of you, that agenda item will show up. Otherwise, unless you have something for me, that's all I have for now.
All right. That takes us to correspondence. Any correspondence, gentlemen?
I have none.
I have none.
All right, which brings us to discussion and vote. First, we have,
I think that's regarding I think we all got
Yeah,
that. That's
we all got
regarding
that.
that public hearing. I think that's a comment for the public hearing.
okay. Well, can I get a motion to open up public hearing for area service Class C road classification 70th Avenue?
Motion.
Second.
Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. I'm gonna read this letter, which is
Well,
supposed to.
can I give a brief summary?
Oh,
just
please
for
do.
the
Please
I
do.
mean, I know everybody's aware of it, but just to kind of lay the groundwork for anybody that might not be. This is a road, it's a gravel road off of 99 that runs back a little ways and eventually turns to a dirt road. It's fairly hilly and has historically been a favorite spot for kids and even some adults to challenge themselves on a muddy road and the conditions when it shouldn't be driven on. A fair number of years ago, and I don't remember, I should have looked it up, some of the landowners out in this area were interested in vacating this road, but not all of them. And there was some opposition to that, which that would have been a full closure. That would have been, this segment would have no longer been a county road. And we've discussed many other options since then. I think this is the first time that it's actually made it back to the board in a formal setting. Rick Wert's been my primary contact as a landowner in that area, but I have spoken to some of the other landowners. And I did, the correspondence you have in front of you, she did call and speak to me. Nice woman, nice conversation. She did write that at my request so that I could present it to you guys, because she's takes care of her husband and didn't want to try to get here, and that's very understandable. However, the other conversations I've had in general have been supportive of this. And so what this is a sea level. The petition was to change the classification of the dirt portion of the road from a B-level road to a sea-level road. And the major change in that really is the addition of gates on the ends of the dirt road. It's still a minimum maintenance road in the county size. If we will do maintenance on it if a landowner calls and asks for it. It's not necessarily gonna be our first priority, but it wasn't when it was a dirt road either. So most of these actually, even though a dirt road doesn't take a lot of maintenance anyway, most of these that become sea levels tend to take less maintenance over time because they're not getting torn up at the worst possible weather conditions. And so they don't stand wet, they don't, there's been years on this one where we moved dozers in because it gets so torn up and so wet and it's covered, it's canopied, so it doesn't dry out very fast, as everybody that lives out there already knows. So that's just kind of some background. It's got a long history, even before this board to a certain extent. I know we have some folks here, but I just wanted to kind of give a general introduction to the overall topic.
It's my understanding that everybody, that the adjacent landowners get key to that gate.
Everybody, actually, I'll summarize the code, I don't think I can quote it, but adjacent landowners and like a renter or a leasee or something like that would have rights to the key. So it gets gated and then it gets padlocked, and what we do, how we handle it is we chain the gates, and then every person that has a legal right, let's just say every landowner, let's go that route, has basically a different color padlock and a different key. So you're Rick Word and you're going up to check your cattle, if you unlock it and it ends up you forgetting to get locked or whatever, and we get a call, we can come out, we can know who left it open or whatever, and we can get a hold of them and say, hey, we had a call, just try to remember to lock it up behind you, or whatever that might be. If we have problems, if let's say somebody, I can't say we've had this, but let's say somebody ran a key and gave it to a buddy that's that wants to hunt or something, and next thing you know, they get kicked off the ground. Well, to mess with them, they start messing. We would know which padlock we were having problems with, is the point. So we could kind of chase that backwards if we needed to. It's not a foolproof system, but it's kind of the system we came up with. So everybody would get a key that has a legal right to it. And if a landowner wants to let a renter or something like that have a key, they do have a legal right to be access on it. So that's how we handle it. So it is gated, and I did not mention it. It will be padlocked also. And we did also receive a petition for this. I should probably mention that. The board received that in December, and it was signed by all but one landowner. The landowner that didn't sign it is the one that submitted the written correspondence, and I'll let you guys read that in, and then I think we have some other folks that might speak too.
Okay. Well, let's read this. This is from Ed and Pam Wilson, 1215 Messiah. Des Moines County Board of Supervisors, we bought our house November 13th, 1989. This is written in by hand, so I'm not literate, I just can't understand everybody's writing. But anyways, November 13th, 1989, at 7302 175th Street, Sperry, Iowa. We moved into our home because of the outdoors. Because of the outdoors. We fished, deer hunted, and walked and drove on dirt road. We picked berries, found pretty rocks, now going on 3 generations, right on. And yes, we were even stuck on the road. I think I was the last one. Our memories are wonderful. Wonderful neighbors, and more. I wish for more young families to enjoy the dirt road like we did. I know you have problems from time to time, but that's part of life. Let the dirt road be part of other lives. Please save the dirt road. Sincerely, Pam and Ed Wilson, Jill, Michael, and Brandon, and grandkids and great-grandkids. So this is the letter from them. And we have some other people here that have some comments or anything.
Well, I'm Rick Wirt, and I'm the main one that wants it shut down because I've got cattle back there. I do business back there all the time. It's just tore up, like the neighbor up there the other day said, you couldn't pull a cattle trailer down there now if you wanted because it's so rutted up. And I sent Brian some pictures my daughter did here the other day. Again, I mean, this is just all the time.
They forwarded your.
And he sent the pictures to all of us. We don't have a
Yeah,
chance to look.
but it's just ongoing. Like a year ago, one of them slid into the fence, cut the fence, my cows could have been out. I wanna put a new fence on the other side. I didn't do it last summer until this is resolved. Why do I wanna put a fence in there and have somebody cut it? I mean, like all the landowners are in favor of it, except her. She owns maybe 100 feet of, she doesn't own the right of way even, she abuts it. She hasn't been down that road when it's tore up like this, they never go down there, ever. Her kid at the end of the road that lives in the house, he's one of the ones that tears it up. But, you know, there's plenty of them that tear it up, and it's just got to the point. I'm saying I don't think anybody else would object, except her. You know, I couldn't get her to sign the letter. But that's just, I'm just fed up with it when you can't go back there and they just slide into the fences and, like you said, you can't go up it. Brian, they're not gonna blade it because it's so muddy, you know, you can't do anything with it. And it's just, and like I said, Pam, I know Pam and Ed. Ed's done, I mean, he's never gonna drive again. Pam never drives out there. But she's just told me that one day, just because of years gone by, you know, once in a while she'll go out there to the house. Well, she can't when the road is tore up like this. She hasn't been down that road, I'll bet, in 5 years.
Bless her heart. I know it's sometimes the nostalgia of things, you know.
Right.
We try to hold on to those things, but sometimes we just have to, there's other ways to enjoy.
But like I
you know.
said, she has no business, she doesn't ever go on it anymore. I mean, she just, I tried talking to her and stuff, and I can see her point, but she's not seeing my point. When, you know, like any of us, you know, we wanna go down the road, well, it's tore up, you can't go through it. Like, I just wanted them to put gates on it. Brian, I'll maintain the gates or whatever, and once they maintain the road, you know, when the road is dry, we can open the gates and let whoever go through it. We don't care, we're not stopping that. We just wanna, when it rains, one of us or the neighbors, one of us will shut the gates and we won't open them until that road is dry again. And people go through it if they want.
Is there, how many people are here for this public hearing? Okay. Is there anybody else that would have any comments or?
Yes, I don't want the gates opened up on dry days. If we're having gates, leave them padlocked.
Well, that's fine with me too, but I mean, before when we
Because
tried.
even though the
we tried
road's
to-
dry, those sides where the water stands and it's muddy, it's not dry.
Ma'am,
Right.
ma'am, can I get your name? I just want, I'm not sure who you are.
Janet Scheitlen,
What was that?
Janet Scheitlen.
For the record, it's
For
just
the
a
record.
record, yes. No, so there's a record of who spoke.
Okay.
How do you spell your last name?
Scheitlin. And I know one of the other neighbors is in agreement with me,
I would be all
not to
for,
leave the gates hang open on the dry days.
well, I would be in favor of that, but before when we talked about it, you know, you and Holstein and some of them didn't want them. And I
I
could
don't know
see,
anything about Holstein.
I
Never
could
talked
see
to
you
them.
wanting to go through there, you know, when it's dry, which I'm open either way. But
I don't use the dirt road anymore.
But I just want it shut when it, if it's gonna rain tonight, I'll go up there, Heinz or somebody will go up there and shut the gate, cause it'll be wet, and
No.
if they wanna shut
I'm
it
really,
permanent, that's fine.
I'm really in favor of vacating the dirt road,
Okay,
period, be done with it.
okay, I'm in favor of that too then.
If you're gonna leave the gates hang open, then just ask the county to vacate the road.
So is that I don't think that's the main issue in this, is it, Brian, about leaving it open at specific times or just?
So the request here is the sea level, to put the gates in, and most of the time when these are requested, there's, I'll call kind of three main areas. This is kind of a rare one, actually. Most times this gets requested, it has to do more with, well, trespassing, which Rick already mentioned, the damage to his fence and the damage to his property. It also tends to have to do with illegal dumping and drug use. Those tend to be, and I think they have issues with that up in this area, but those tend to be the bigger topics. And of course, tearing up a dirt road, but that rarely is the true biggest motivating factor. This is a little different animal because it's so hilly and it's so shaded, it just never dries out. In other places, they will dry out a lot faster. But what you have in front of you is a sea level. If in a gate, which we talked about before this, if the landowners want to come back and request a vacation at some point in the future, and I would mention the sea level isn't permanently binding. It can certainly be reverted back to a B level someday if need be. A vacation would be permanent. I mean, a vacation is the county basically wiping their easement away in perpetuity, and the landowners would then, really what happens, somebody would have to figure it all out, but ultimately the road would become private management. The county would no longer have any say in that. And that was brought in the past, and perhaps it would have support this time. There was some opposition, even by some landowners, and that's been a long while ago. Things have changed. There was some opposition at that time from some landowners and from some general public. Kind of the same thing. I want to be able to drive through the dirt road and look at the birds, kind of a thing. So if that's something that the landowners want to pursue in the future, it can be. It'd be a very similar process, except for a petition. We do request petitions in a road vacation process, but it's not required. The board has the power by the code to vacate a road anytime, any place, anywhere, whether somebody wants it or not. But for what's in front of you, it is a sea level, and we don't get into the middle. In our eyes, once the gates go up, they're closed. I mean, we don't micromanage these. We have plenty of other stuff to do, and I've already told them that also. We're not going to show up out here. But in our eyes, that's how the policy is, yeah, and there's actually some language in the ordinance that the county has for sea levels to allow for the law enforcement to handle through trespassing process anybody on the road that doesn't belong there, as far as doesn't have a legal right to. It's never had to be enforced, it's never been enforced, and hopefully it doesn't start anytime soon. I think they have other things to do. But this is supported by an ordinance, which is supported by the Code of Iowa. So that's what this is. If we want to move to a vacation someday, that's a different conversation, and it's a different process, and it can be done in the future, so.
Are there
Okay.
3 landowners that cross the dirt road? I know Wally does, I know you do. Does Wagonbox cross the dirt road also?
No, they don't.
Yeah,
Are you
like,
sure they
No,
don't?
they do land wise.
Yeah.
Blanket box did cross
Yeah.
Right.
up
I'll let
where
them
they
talk for a second. I'll hand
In
out
the
some
timber.
maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a big gully there. There's not a
They
whole
still
lot,
cross though.
but
Yeah,
they
they
do.
go around
Yeah.
both sides.
Well, everybody that's along there, because you don't cross, do you?
Yeah,
You cross the dirt road?
down at the bottom
You do,
where the mud road starts,
where it starts.
and where what used to be Triple H.
Yeah, the driveway there.
There's a fence right there.
Yeah.
And we actually own
I see them there.
the roadside of that fence. So when you go up the mud road, we own both sides of the road.
Okay.
Would anybody else like a map, just for the
Yeah.
fun of it?
Yeah, the flag box go on both sides
Yeah,
there
they
for
do.
just a little ways there and,
Uh,
but like, yeah, I'm.
But theirs is pretty worthless too. It's
Yeah,
just timber
well,
ground.
yeah, Colin never goes up there, I mean,
No.
I think.
no. Matter of
But
fact,
you and Roy would be the most interested in.
Right.
Live out that way.
I just, yeah, I'd love to see it closed permanent. I just thought of Wally one time, didn't really want to, but now maybe his mind's changed. You know, cause he can't go through it either.
We need to focus on the sea level side of this right now.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah,
If it becomes a sea level road
yes,
with a gate at each end,
yes.
and those landowners decided a month, 6 months, a year from now, that they wanted it vacated,
Yeah.
they could start this process again. It would be similar to this process, like you just said, a petition.
It would
Bring to
probably
the
move
board.
along quicker. This one's dragged out, partially because of my office and how busy we've been. But yes, it would be, yes, that's how we would do it.
I guess my thought would be, rather than have this debate here about vacating or sea level, if you want it sea level, you know, we could address that. If you want to address vacation in the future, you could do that. But if you decide here, we have this debate, and you decide you want to vacate it, then we're back to square zero. Does that make sense? Maybe not?
Maybe it's a stepping stone. but yeah.
Right, if we could just go to getting the gates across the canal, like we said, because in the past, there was just too much of the public didn't want to close it. You know, Brian told me we're never gonna get this done. But there was people that dumped, when it was dry here a couple years ago, there was people driving down when it was dry, dumping shingles off. They were just here lately, the neighbor up there went back on his four-wheeler, and he said sometime here in the last couple of months, somebody's been burning rolls of copper wiring off. You know, they do that a lot back in there.
My experience, I was telling Janet this earlier, my experience with sea levels is that the first 6 months to a year, we get some complaints, not from landowners, but from folks that are accustomed to swinging through there. The folks that are out burning copper wire or doing drugs or just simply playing around, from what I can see, they tend to move on. I'm sure they find somewhere else. I'm guessing they don't change their habits. But they move on. Once they realize going back there doesn't get them anywhere, they tend to quit showing up from what I'm talking to other landowners and seeing it. This would give us a good kind of litmus test as far as, you know, what kind of feedback we get from the public, if there's anything major we're missing for why it was a mistake, whatever else. The landowners may find out in the first 3 or 6 months that this solves all their problems and they all can find a middle ground for how things work. And they still may want to close it. And that is certainly, either direction is just fine. I don't think, obviously we use this a little bit for going back and forth with the county side of it, but I mentioned earlier to somebody, I mean, we're not opposed to this. If we were, the board wouldn't even be hearing it right now. But this road stays wet for so long that this is not a major connection for the motor grader operator to get around. I will say, if you're up at the top of the hill, it's a little bit more of a drive, but you have to make that drive about 3/4 of the year anyway, because the road's not in condition you can get through it. So it's not like it's an instant shortcut for everybody all the time, because once somebody cuts ruts in this road, it's done. And I mean, it can take months for this road to dry out, and seriously months. We'll probably get some feedback from somebody that'll be frustrated. That's pretty common after one of these, and we can see what all that is. But yeah, we're definitely here for the sea level, and if they want to move forward with a vacation in the future, I don't think my office would be opposed to that. Just simply because it's just not a frequent one we can use to get by. If this connected two busy gravel roads in the north end of the county where the farmers are using it, there's no way it'd even be sitting here. I mean, it's just, all of them are a little bit different, but this one certainly is not that case.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody satisfied? Okay. We're gonna go ahead. Lou, can I get a motion to close public hearing?
Is there any more comment? Did you receive any comment?
I did not.
The auditor's office.
If this is a public hearing, right, today?
Yes.
Now, it was in the paper. Now, if anybody objected to it, shouldn't they be here? Or wouldn't they be here? I mean, really?
One would hope.
You would think so.
Or to send correspondence.
But our, Lisa will tell me if I'm wrong, our responsibility is for asking the auditor and make sure that we don't miss any public
Yep.
comment. If somebody doesn't show up to voice an opinion either way, that's on them. So if we don't have any more comments, if there's no more from the audience or if the auditor or the county or county engineer has not heard any, we haven't gotten any that, so.
Jimmy
That's the end of
said,
it.
Jimmy said I can give 2 minutes to call in if, to cover tracks. Should I do that?
Might not hurt to give 2 minutes if anybody wants to call in.
Let me go ahead and do that, so that way, nobody thinks we're trying to, run a hustle through. This is a public hearing. You can call in, we'll give you 2 minutes. Call us at 319-753-8203, extension 4. Please do, if you have something to say, give us a call, 319-753-8203, extension 4. We just want to try to make the best decision today on the Class C road classification. So we're waiting 2 minutes. You can also email DM County or board@dmcounty.com, but we probably hear from you a lot sooner if you called in. So.
I will note, I had one other phone call on this from a landowner. I don't think he's gonna speak today, but Ray Peebler gave me a call, and he lives at the bottom of this location, but he has
Who is
land.
it?
My mother.
Ray Peebler is his name. He's on their map that shows where he lives. He did support this. We spoke on the phone a couple different times. He had some questions. And I also have sent the policy to all the adjacent landowners, so they've had an opportunity to see that. And I also sent notice of this hearing to all the adjacent landowners. I know they weren't all gonna come, and I didn't expect that, but just trying to make sure they had every opportunity if they wished to. And they all did, all but one did sign, and Rick's not wrong. The Wilsons, I'll be real honest with you, their land might touch the road, and it might not. And it wasn't worth, or I'm not sure we were ever gonna figure that out. But when you're talking about kind of in the middle of a dirt road that has moved over the years and everything else, they're on this to be safe and to make sure we're doing things as upfront and as proper as possible. But as you can see, if you look at the map, whether they skim the road or not, I don't think I would stake one way or the other. I don't think that necessarily changes it. She could have expressed her opinion with or without this. She's part of the public, and I'm glad that she did. I wish more people would pay attention and give their opinions on stuff, so.
And she told me, she said, I don't blame you, you know, I hope you get it done. But she just said sentimental reasons is the only reason. Driving through there, seeing the leaves, you know, and you can't do it if it's tore up.
Yeah, so anyway, I would, since you're doing 2 minutes, I thought I'd mention those were the
Appreciate
other,
it.
this is the other stuff we did.
I have a question on stuff like this, so this is just for my education. I've heard in the past that land in Iowa cannot be landlocked. Is that particularly true? So like in this instance, if this road were sometime in the future to get vacated, do the landowners between the public road and say Works or Wagon Box inside of this area, would they have to give an easement to access that? How does that work in Iowa?
So in Iowa, land can be landlocked, but in this situation, we'll stick with this one rather than get broader at the moment. That's one of the reasons, even though an Iowa petition is not required for a road vacation, in a road like this that rolls through multiple different landowners, that we would pretty much require somebody to at least go get a petition, whether people support or not. It might not be as complicated as a petition, but it would give the board that perspective of, okay, Rick Wirt owns ground in the middle of this, and actually, he's probably the most supportive of the vacation, at least historically has been, one way or the other. But he'd also be landlocking himself. And so they would see, I mean, they could reach out to him and ask also, or I could, but they would see that Rick Wirt signed this petition saying he supports this road vacation, and he understands that the road would cease to exist and that, you know, he would have to have access through the road through other people. And we've talked about that, although it's been in the very distant past. So land can be landlocked. It's not illegal landlocked land. They do, a landowner that's landlocked in Iowa, whether it be There is language in the code that if a board forces a vacation through that landlocks a piece of ground, that they can be held for some damages. There is a process to go for damages. Clearly, that's why we would look at petitions, so that if a landowner was opposed to it and said, you're gonna landlock my land, I'm gonna come after the county, that's a big factor for a board and whether they wanna approve a road vacation or not. So that's why we look at all of that.
So like 20 years from now, or however, generations from now, let's say this road does get vacated, the road's even off the maps, the where property sells, somebody buys it, they can't legally compel any of the surrounding neighbors to give them.
They can absolutely, they can make an argument that if Rick Wirt owns the ground and 20 years sells it, it's been vacated for 20 years, I'm not an attorney, but when you get into the easement side of law, which is very gray and a great way for attorneys to make money, but it's basically an adverse possession type of situation where they can show permanent use. Let's just say a cow path across something where somebody has let somebody drive across the corner of the ground for years and years and years and then tries to cut them off. They have a pretty decent argument in court to go back and say, I have prescriptive rights here because you've let me do this forever. I've driven this path forever and ever. In this case, that would probably be what would apply there, would be something like that. I believe in past conversation on this, and it has been a long time since that topic came up, my advice to the landowners was before you run this through as a vacation, get together, have a lawyer, throw together a generic easement document, and all of you agree as neighboring landowners that you're gonna basically have this one document that everybody says, we're gonna let everybody use this. Not neighbors, like beyond the road, on the road, and have something recorded so that that kind of topic doesn't become a factor in the future. That's just off the record advice because it's not required, but it was something I brought up in the past. But if you're just Joe Blow out there at 40 acres that's landlocked, there is a legal process for you to basically condemn your way through private property to have access to a public roadway. I can't say as I've ever seen it or know how it would work, but there is some way to do that.
Okay. Nobody was disregarded today. We wanted to hear from everybody. Did everybody that did come, everybody's here, that is here satisfied? We gave well longer than 2 minutes for a phone call. We didn't receive one today, so I'm gonna ask for a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane Campbell.
Yes. Which brings me to B, which is a resolution for 2023-11 Class C road classification. Whereas Des Moines County desires to classify certain roads on the area service system and the county to provide for a minimal level of maintenance and access by means of a gate or barrier. Whereas the county, after consultation with the county engineer, has the authority to specify certain roads within the county as Area C roads pursuant to Iowa Code Section 309.57, which was 2015 as amended, and the county ordinance number 31, Area Service Class C roads, and whereas the county has received a petition attached to this resolution signed by all landowners adjoining the road requesting that the following road be classified as an Area Service C road. Can I get a motion?
Well, I think it's
Go ahead.
certainly in the county's interest to maintain the functionality and safety of that type of roads and prevent them from becoming free fire zones to destroy that infrastructure. I would make a motion to approve that resolution.
I'd second that.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane Campbell.
Yes.
I'd like to one more time say thanks to everybody that came or called. Repeat what I said earlier, it'd be nice if more people paid attention to what was going on and gave more input, good or bad. I mean, so thank you to coming down, and I guess for Rick to going around doing this and all this sort of stuff. I mean, we are kind of just a funnel to it, but it does require some work out of the landowners.
Well, they said he would have been here, but he had to go to the emergency room last night.
Well, that seems like a higher
But
priority,
he would
so.
have been here.
Fair enough.
And I could have had other ones show up, I just didn't
Yep.
think we needed them.
We will, we don't keep supplies like this on hand, so we're towards getting some stuff ordered and getting gates and start working towards this install. So it's not like it's gonna get gated tomorrow, but we will start the process.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, if I couldn't furnish the gates and posts. Because I'll do things a little heavier than you would. The kids won't mess around with what I'm gonna do.
You,
It ain't gonna kill somebody, but just, they're hitting the gates, but they're not gonna lean on them with a pickup and push them in like my gate up there at the moment. I don't know what Heinz got in mind, but that's what I want.
I would urge you consult with the county
yeah,
engineer.
how about we talk it through somewhere else another time, okay? I'll work with you.
All right, again, thank you all for coming down, we appreciate it. If you wanna leave, nobody's gonna be mad. Next, we have 5C, which is 2021 amended homestead credits and military exemptions. February 28th of 2023.
Thank you.
Those of you that are at home can't see, but Brian Carter's talking again. I'm gonna wait for him to finish. Next, we do have amended homestead credits. A list of additional and corrected claims for 2021 military and homestead exemptions in accordance with Code of Iowa, Chapter 416A.2 is attached to this letter. The Board of Supervisors may by a single resolution allow or disallow the exemptions as recommended. I hereby request that the military and homestead tax credits be approved as amended. The amended homestead value is a decrease of $871.97. The amended military is an increase of $12.82, which would make the homestead and disabled veterans claim $1,813,467.42 for the total. And for the military service property tax credit claim, the total would be $24,024.68.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approved and second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. I just need on the cover, is that gonna cover that, or do you want something?
Yeah, just on the cover.
I've got 5D for decision on outside counsel, and I've got nothing in the.
You got me. Anyway, and you're all aware that, our outside counsel is Lynch Dallas, and where we always deal with is Emily Ellingson, and she handles personnel matters and union negotiations and preparing contract. So she's moving, she's changing employers. She's gonna work for Ehlers and Cooney. So we can move with her. We can stay with Lynch Dallas and get a new attorney, or fold our tent and go somewhere else. I guess I've gone through here and get an idea of billable hours. Ehlers and Cooney charges more than Lynch Dallas. Lynch Dallas charges $175 an hour. Ehlers and Cooney charges $210 an hour. And there's a difference in the way they bill travel. But so I went through, and so for fiscal '22, Lynch Dallas for personnel issues billed 44 hours. Now was the billable hours in fiscal '22 were for the changing COVID policies and the creation of that handbook. So that would make that was right at 22 hours. For the first 7 months of fiscal '23, there are 18.2 hours, and 7.1 of that 18.2 hours were for finishing the handbook before we. So that's, if we assume, so those are both 21, 22 hours a year. If we assume 24 billed hours a year, the additional cost would be $840 a year.
For $840, I don't wanna change it.
Well, I understand, but even if we assume it's an additional $1,000 per year, per year. Now, for union negotiations and contract preparation, which we did in fiscal '22, there was 39.2 hours. So, the additional cost for that, for the difference in travel time charges, would be an additional cost of $2,590. If we can call that $3,000. Union negotiations are once every 3 years. So that would be $1,000. So we can say this would cost $2,000 a year. I've been extremely, just speaking for myself and the department heads I've spoken to, extremely comfortable with Emily. She works well with the department heads. All the department heads, or most of them, have called her. They can do that if they have a personnel issue or something come up. She's familiar with Des Moines County. She essentially, with hours and hours and hours and hours of input from the department heads, created that handbook. And and we don't know what we would get if we get another lawyer. And for $2,000 a year, I am eminently comfortable with that change to stay with Emily. But I know you guys, that's.
I can't imagine working with anybody else for $2,000 a year.
I think we've had her 5, 6 years.
I've had her every budget year I've been on the board. She's fantastic, she's knowledgeable.
Let's take a motion.
Well, I would move that we keep Emily Ellingson, and as she moves to Ayers and Cooney's, however you want to phrase that, either that or switch just follow Emily. We'll follow Emily. We'll go where she goes. How's that?
Can I get a second?
Yes.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie, let's vote.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yep.
I will contact
Are we gonna-
Emily, or they send out an email. I will respond to that and say that we want to follow Emily so that they have that for their records.
All right, let's move to 5E personnel actions. We have two. One for the correctional center, one for the auditor. This is for William Elliott III, for Thurston Howe III. The final rate of pay is $47,733.07. His previous rate was $47,733.07, and this is a discharge for effective date February 21st, 2023. Get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. The next one is Angie Pates, Clerk 2 for the Auditor's Department. This is her anniversary, so she gets a 42-month step increase. She's 42-month step increase. Her previous rate of pay was $37,161 at 46 cents. Her new rate of pay is $37,904.73. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. Broker erection.
Somebody's passing along pictures. I think they might have come from the auditor's office.
Why do I get blamed for that?
Because I see one of your staff back there giggling.
I blame Jim Carrey for this.
Well, that's true, it did, that's who it.
All right, 5F is minutes for regular meeting of February 21st, 23. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Tom Broker? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, oh yeah.
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. All right, now we have canvass results of Burlington North Bottom Levy and Drainage District election.
ballots, one of us will have to take off our shoes.
I'm gonna pass this to you, Thomas. I know you've counted your toes before.
I count 6 ballots.
Can you have Jimmy go over these two, or to count these two?
Well, it's unanimous, so.
All right.
If,
6 ballots and unanimous. Can I get a motion to approve this?
so moved.
Second.
Sarah Murray?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes.
Who are the ballots for?
Yeah.
Tom Williams, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That's my bad. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I was just curious.
Tom Williams, did you say?
Tom Williams, Williams.
Gentlemen, do we have any other business?
I don't.
Where you at? Envelope, Tom?
I have,
Thank you.
I have none.
Future agenda items? Committee reports. Thomas?
Southeast Iowa Regional Riverboat Commission had a Zoom meeting, and they updated the bylaws. And the conference board had a meeting last week for the public hearing of its fiscal 2024 budget. That's all I have.
James?
I was also at the conference board for the 2024 budget last week, and I had a Southeast Iowa Regional Planning, and we just went over their budget for coming up this year, and everything looks real good. They got a good clean audit on it. I also had a early childhood meeting, and we're getting ready for new contracts like Ken has with his mental health. And it looks to me like we do have one new member, but I don't wanna, she gets voted in next meeting if, so I really don't wanna mention who it is at this time in case something comes up, but, I'm sure she's going to make it. She's got all the credentials we're looking for. We're still looking for one more person. And, Ken, I thought of somebody in your office. Patty?
Patty would be good.
Would be good, and I was gonna ask you if you would talk to her, maybe see if she would like to do that.
Yeah, I mentioned it to her that you had spoken,
Yeah.
and she's off this week, but she'll be back next week. I think she'd like to know more information about when they meet and stuff, I think.
Yeah,
That's
it's,
the only thing.
it'll be the third Tuesday of, every month. And it's over in Mount Pleasant, and it's at, 5 o'clock at the Masonic Lodge.
5 PM, Masonic Lodge. And what's the name of the group, the children's group?
It's, early childhood.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, she sounded interested, so.
after the meeting here, I'll get you Tasha's number so she can call her up and talk to her.
Yeah. Okay.
I had 2 workforce boards, meetings at A911. One of the workforce boards is for, we're starting this Job Quality Academy, and they're working on some new initiative. That's just getting started, so it's, everybody seems to be excited about that. The other one is for Workforce Development Board. We're starting a new infrastructure funding agreement that we've been working on. Started with MOUs and local understanding. Now we're moving it to the next level. Everybody's excited about that. One thing they're frightened about is the new realignment that is going on, and that's not the only board that I'm on that they're trying to do a realignment where they're taking the control away from local government. So that's something that we ought to be mindful of moving forward. There are several of these moves that are taking place right now, if you're reading the tea leaves, so I'll leave it at that. The E911 board meeting, we're looking at having an assessment done so that we can find out if they want to change over to Essex or if they want to stick with the system that they have right now, which still works. But I guess the best way to explain it is the system they have now is like VHF, and the Essex system that they want to go to is like HDMI cord. That's the best way I can explain it. That's all I've got. So.
Okay, getting back to this early childhood, Jim Gill concert in Southeast Iowa. They're having it's a fun for the whole family, for people that's got little ones that could be in childhood care. And it's gonna be April the 6th at 1 o'clock. And it's a creative activities and snacks. It's gonna be at the Course Early Childhood Center at 700 Stars Avenue in Burlington, Iowa. So I would suggest that anybody that got little ones, you know, that are thinking about putting in a child care, early childhood, go to that. And this is one that we do fund, and it's through the Burlington School District over there, of course, in the tune of like $67,000 a year, one of the fundings that we do for them. So I think it would be a good opportunity for anybody that's got little ones, because my understanding is from 3 to 5, when they get involved with other kids their age, you know, 2, 3, 4, their brain develops a little bit better than what it does if they're not. I think that's what happened to me. I didn't have anybody around. So anyway, I just wanted to make that be known. I think it'd be a good opportunity for you. That's all I got.
Where do the underdeveloped brain kids go? What kind of jobs do they usually get?
County supervisor. I think that's in the code.
All right. Now we're going to take out a couple of minutes for public input. If you are watching, you can definitely email us at board@dmcounty.com, or you can call in at 319-753-8203 extension 4. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at board@dmcounty.com, or you can call right now at 319-753-8203 extension 4. We'd love to hear from you. We'll give you 2 minutes.
Since you brought up the topic of undeveloped brains, some of the tax bills floating around the state, I'm curious, do we know, granted, we know a lot can change between now and when they finally get passed, but what kind of impact would we possibly expect here in this county from those, at least currently the way they're written? Do we know yet?
What type of impact that we're gonna see
Yeah.
on our budget? We're gonna have an impact on it. I'll let Tommy, I draw it in crayon. Tom will write it in.
You got our budget director right behind you.
Well, that depends on what passes and whether they're gonna hold on to our local option sales tax money or distribute it out the way they're saying, or,
Which
you
is-
know, what's in what they're proposing may not be what actually happens 2 years down the
Well,
road,
certainly, yeah.
5 years down the
Right.
road, so. And then, you know, if they're gonna put a limit on what kind of growth we can have in the county.
SF
it's gonna
35,
impact us.
35.
Absolutely. You know, 2%, 2.5%,
Yeah.
3%, it's all gonna hurt.
And what about new investment? You know what I'm saying? What about big business coming in and building stuff?
Right,
You know,
economic development's gonna go down the tubes. I mean, why would a city invest money in economic development if they're gonna limit the growth in our value anyway? I mean, I don't think it's gonna work. It's totally the opposite of the way
Makes
they
no
have
sense to me.
everything set up right now.
Except for the fact that it looks like somebody doesn't have any money, and so now they're making everybody start to cover their weight in other people's, I guess, is the way it looks to me.
I mean, the local option sales tax, to me, to lose that, 50% of our local option sales tax goes to secondary roads.
That would be huge.
That is huge. That is a lot of gravel.
And even though they they say we're gonna get some of that money back through that increase in the sales tax. We all know how that goes, and any money that leaves never comes back the same. If $1 leaves, you'll be lucky to get 30 cents. So I mean, I don't believe any of that.
I don't know how they're gonna keep passing laws like back to blue, and I don't have anything against law enforcement by any means, please don't quote me on that, but if they're gonna mandate that we do things differently that cost the taxpayers more money, and then they're gonna turn around and limit the amount of road
Right.
we can have in value, is it gonna have a negative impact on the county? Absolutely. I mean, can I give you a dollar amount? I could, if you want me to, but it's gonna change several times before it gets to the governor, if it makes it that far.
Of what's passed or likely to pass, are we expecting a budget hit to next fiscal year's budget? Because I know they extended that deadline for certification. Are we gonna have to make any changes to?
I wrote a letter to our legislators, and I've heard back from most of them. I can't imagine they would pass anything now that would, it's not going to affect the fiscal year that starts in 23. 24, I don't know. Like Cheryl said, you know, some of the, I'm also told that there's a House version and a Senate version, and they're miles apart. So how they would settle that, I don't know. But the Senate version, which I wrote a letter on, it's got a 350 cap for counties. We're up 350, but a third, 30 or 31 counties are over that. Some of them are way over that. You've heard me mention the taxable value per capita ranges typically in Iowa from about $40,000 to about $80,000, except for Dickinson County, which is about $180,000. That's why I say anything you compare us to doesn't matter. If Dickinson, you know, was if we were going to raise the same kind of money Dickinson would, they'd have. They were going to lower theirs to ours. It put them at about $11 per levy, and ours is $6 something. But anyway, so it caps it, and it makes it sort of one size fits all. And the size that fits a county, in Des Moines County is about $45,000 of taxable value per capita. It's hard to compare with somebody that has almost twice as much, you know, if they put out $1 levy and they're gonna bring in twice as much per capita. They've got a cap on valuations where I believe it's 2.5%, unless you keep it under their levy cap, then I think it can be higher. One size fits all means the counties that don't have anything now that's not gonna change. It's gonna be really tough for them. And a 350 cap, when you're in an era of inflation like we are now, that will become oppressive. That will be a deal.
And then they're talking about limiting year-over-year growth to 2.5 to 3%.
That's what I said, yeah, that's what, the property valuation growth would be 2.5%, maybe more of that if you're under that cap. And cities, especially cities, you know, they spend a lot of money, you know, will abate the taxes, you know, to get business XYZ to move here. Economics is all about incentives. People respond to incentives. So if the cities or the county abated the tax for that 20 years ago or 18 years ago, abated 90% of the taxes on that ethanol plant. You know, same as when the cities tip something or abate the taxes on something, they still get services. You know, so they're still, the schools are still educating the children of those workers, of those owners. The cities are providing fire protection, police protection. The county's providing a lot of services. You know, you should be repaid or at least get a return on your investment for those, or you aren't gonna make that investment. So that won't happen. And I don't know that the state has thought about it yet, but economic development's a big deal with the state. If they lose local partners, that won't work out well for them at all. I don't think they can do that. That's but I don't know what they can do whatever they want. But there's all sorts of things that, so I've written letters, and so Senator Lofgren got back to me with some, he said, well, he said, this addresses that, so I'm gonna try to sit down and talk with him in the near future, get an idea. Lisa would understand, but when you're looking, when they change the law, they've got all those Iowa code, and it's got through pages of that, and they strike lines through it, and then you insert this or that. I would have to go on vacation for a week, just to sit down with that, try to figure out what they've taken out, so you don't know, except that people complain to their legislators about their property taxes, because their property taxes are too high. And doesn't matter what they do, you know, there's always gonna be good city councils and poor city councils, good school boards, and, you know, all the way through the state. But what people really hate about property taxes is because twice a year you get a bill and you have to write a big check. It would be different. The only reason federal spending developed as it is because they take it out of each check. And people don't miss it, they take it and they aren't used to getting it, so they can spend it. People don't notice that. If the federal government sent you a bill twice a year, their spending habits would change immediately. Yeah, so, anyway, so, yeah, there's all sorts of scary things there, but I don't know how close they are to, they could pass the one in the Senate tomorrow, but I'm told that the one in the House is so much different that it'll be a process. I can't imagine that they can make all those changes in 1 year, but.
Well, yeah, I can't either. I was asking because we got ISAC coming up next week, I guess, and I know they're not having a capital day, but I'm gonna be up there anyway, and so, and this is an area where I've got expertise. I mean, yeah, I would love to see that Natural Resources Trust Fund funded, and that's part of that one tax bill, but I also don't want them taking away our loss either. So, but the tax implications of it, I don't quite have my head wrapped around yet, and we can't speak to the entirety of the proposed legislation, it makes it kind of difficult.
It's hard to trust them when they say, you know, we'll keep with the backfill, or we'll do this or that.
Yeah.
Once after a while, when the state's giving counties and cities money, it just becomes a line item up there, and they want to save money, they go, and so we've just saved $50 million.
Well, taken away is retroactive. When we're getting something, that's always the next. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works, man. So that's what makes me nervous. But anyways.
I think what I'm gonna do is get that press that Bob got and start making them own like this. I don't know whose picture I'm gonna put on it, but see if it'll expand.
Bob, the counterfeiting?
No,
I believe there's a federal law. That might be right.
I'm sorry.
I said, isn't there a federal law against printing your own money?
Yeah, there is.
You might, you and the sheriff might want to talk to Bob after the meeting.
Donald Trump printed that.
Oh, you can print it, you just can't pass it off as well.
Oh, okay.
Is this still the 2 minutes?
Yeah, you know, go ahead, Robert.
Lisa, did I hear you right, life on the installment plan?
Yes, it's a quote from the retired Judge Dow. He used to use it when he had seen somebody one too many times.
Okay, so that's a common term or something?
Mhm.
Okay.
I never heard that. I like that.
Too, and picked that up.
And then not to drag the meeting out, I'm sorry, but I had a couple more questions, or one more question. Spring cleanup is coming up, we got spring on the brain. Do we know when are we gonna set up?
I will have to look into those dates.
Okay, and then
I'll
can
get it to you.
those credits be used for like tech materials? Cause I literally have a room full of old tech in my office.
I don't think they can. They don't want to give up that revenue stream.
You can't.
Several years
I'm
ago,
on board.
didn't IT have somebody here that took a bunch of old?
Yeah, the Nilotech cycling company up there. I talked to them like last year and tried to get something, kind of get them motivated a little bit, but I couldn't get them motivated. I'm gonna try to see if we can't get them motivated this year. See
Try harder.
Yeah. See if they can come down.
Thanks across all the offices.
And
we
you
can
still
turn
want a
your
work
fist.
session
harder.
next week?
What's
You
that?
still want a work session next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Chris, that's where they throw them in the ditches.
I know.
TV, computer training, because they want to pay $15 to get rid of them.
Yeah.
They take them onto that road that we just gated.
Yeah, or Sullivan Slough.
Yeah, and I'll confirm that,
whatever.
you do have to.
Toss them out there.
Everybody does, yeah.
And so I was just, if we could find a workaway around that, or, you know, maybe, if nothing else, to at least empty that one room in my office that is literally stacked to the ceiling with just old tech. I mean, I'm sure most of the offices around here probably have.
You have a garage at home?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
Got cars parked in it.
you know how that is.
I'm fishing
You
here.
come to a meeting and who isn't ever there to vote, you vote to put it in their office.
Yeah, there we go.
Take it over to your in-laws over there. They got a couple good gullies right down behind their house over there. I drive by it every day.
I know, yeah. I know, and all this wet, it's getting worse.
I've got a meeting coming up, I think it's next, if it's not next week, it's week after, and I'll bring that up.
Yeah, so
Find a
I'm
way
sure
to flush some of
Tom's
this
got a
stuff
stack of it,
down.
we got a stack of it, probably most of the offices do.
My favorite is when I get back to my office and there's a stack of stuff just sitting next to my door and I have no idea who dropped it.
Yeah.
Living the dream, Colin, living the dream, man.
That's where you go looking for return addresses.
Hey, Rodney was the one laughing the hardest, but anyways,
Anyway, sorry, I'm done.
if there's nothing else, with an eye, we're adjourned.
Aye.
All right, thank you,
Bob,
everybody.
did you get all of them?
Those chairs still
No, I
are.
can't get him.
We probably run Lori past her deadline.
Yeah, I already sent him